Welcome to the Popcorn Junkies.
Hooray!
There's Nanny Di down in Skype in a little screen over there, bless her. So we are reviewing The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, starring Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, and also starring Kodi Smit-McPhee. It's a hard name. Let's call him Kodi. Now, I have to confess, I was a long time coming to this. I was like Benedict Cumberbatch's horse refusing to go to water. My reluctance stemmed from the fact that I thought it was going to be long. I thought it was going to be turgid. I didn't particularly, I mean, this is terrible. You should never judge a book or a film by its cover or poster. And I did. I just thought it looked dour and I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for it.
No, well, I'm not that dissimilar to that, although I do have a fondness for Westerns. But also, and this is a very bad thing to admit to, given his performance, is I didn't know if Benedict would be up to it. I mean, there's Benedict being Benedict, and I love him as most things, Sherlock Holmes, etc., but I just could not see him.
I think that's a really important point. I think, as a casting decision, it seems strange that he would be a cowboy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the very concept was odd. Yeah. Okay, well, so it's directed by Jane Campion. Jane Campion, obviously, most famously known probably for The Piano.
Yes.
She also did that series that you loved with Holly Hunter.
And then she also did, I've discovered, a film called Bright Star, which was which I thought was quite good. I didn't even know it was by her. She
also did An Angel at My Table.
Angel, that's really going back. I mean, that was the first.
Am I right in thinking she's a New Zealand director who works in Australia? I think I am. I think I am. And she, she very much came from the sort of indie sector, didn't she? So her sensibility is much more art house, slow, meandering, thought-provoking. She's not particularly hurried. And it's fair to say that's a pretty accurate description of this film. It's the most unhurried film I think I've ever watched in my life.
Never mind me, because how did it grab you? Did it grab you in little bits, or did you suddenly find yourself liking it as you watched it?
The film is set in Montana. Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemons play brothers. They run a ranch. They stumble across Kirsten Dunst, who's working in a sort of shambolic kitchen/restaurant. Her son, Kodi Smit, it works with her, and Jesse Plemons' character falls in love with Kirsten Dunst. She goes to live with him, and really it's a sort of sibling rivalry type thing, and a woman who descends into alcoholism, but all the while you've got Benedict Cumberbatch sort of hovering at the edges in a sort of bristling manner. It's a toxic masculinity, but also sublimated masculinity.
I
mean, and quite quickly you began to realise that this is quite a homoerotic piece, isn't it?
Yeah, but also what Benedict did for me was that I went from thinking, can he even do this role at all as a cowboy? I mean, I didn't know about the subtext or anything. But then I started to think, not only has he absolutely got the bullyingness, the the nastiness, the
foolishness,
of him. But then on top of that, he gives you start to feel real pain for him, because you can start to see that he's not one bit happy with the life that he's leading, and that his brother has found something that he's left him basically, and it suddenly becomes quite a sort of sad film in that respect.
I totally agree. I mean, you ask what kind of pulled me in to stay. Firstly, I thought it was beautifully shot. You couldn't help but, I mean, the landscape of Montana, which I filmed in, and it looks like that. There was not green screen going on there. That was Montana. And so it's weird to say that landscape pulled me in, but landscape is such an important part of this film. And so I found it incredibly immersive. I felt like I was very slowly being immersed into a very real world. And whilst it was unhurried and some would argue quite slow, I found it really authentic. That lent itself, a bit like the film First Cow, it lent itself to a certain authenticity. So I really actually believed I was watching this for real. I mean, it sounds ridiculous because all films try to do that. Some films do it through great acting, some films do it through set design. This just did it through a sense of place. But also, I think like you've just said, Benedict Cumberbatch hypnotised me. He sort of lured me in.
And you don't know what to sort of do with him in your mind, because everything that he's exhibiting is pure masculine, horrid, spiteful, bullying behaviour.
Yeah.
And I mean, drives her to drink in sort of no time at all, because, I mean, the film's been criticised for that. It was too quick, but in a way, she'd got no recourse. And I mean, you know, alcoholism is like that. You pick up a drink one day and that's
and also,
it.
I mean, the subplot, I thought Kirsten Dunst played it really well. She had about 6 lines in the whole film. But I thought she was impeccable. And, you know, I very much saw her alcoholism as that classic thing of she's been placed in a affluent environment with a very sweet partner in Jesse Plemons. But sweet and in his own way controlling too.
True, actually.
You know, especially around the piano. I thought one of the most powerful scenes with Kirsten Dunst was the piano scene.
Oh my God, it was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking. I mean, I felt her stress, her social anxiety.
Yeah, and when she just could not, she did that so well, because that could have been a nice scene, but she couldn't play a note.
Yeah,
and you absolutely felt for her. It was shocking.
You're right. I mean, in a weird way, what I wasn't expecting was I was heartbroken for all 4 of the main characters.
Yeah,
you know,
yes,
including Kodi. You know, I was heartbroken for Kirsten Dunst, and gradually, as you rightly say, increasingly heartbroken for the clearly sublimated, contorted and hidden desire that was in Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would disagree with this, or if anybody, if it's just my own personal view. The one person I don't feel sorry for is the boy, because the boy is so much in control of everything.
So, I mean, what did you think Kodi's shtick was? This is the young boy who essentially, Cumberbatch's character is very bullying with him, and all the men on the ranch tease him and mock him. Nothing seems to stick to him, though. Nothing pulls him down. He's not sort of left in a sort of heap, kind of bemoaning the fact that he's being bullied, is he? But why? Why do you think he was presented in the way he was?
Well, because after the introduction, where Benedict, the flower scene, the whole flower scene, and he cries, the boy cries, and he really has touched him. You know, he's hurt him in that respect. At that point, he's never going to be hurt again, and he makes sure that he's not. And then, because of all the sort of subplot elements about him going to be a doctor, going to be this, going to be that, and he gives you tiny little hints, like, do you remember the conversation where he's talking to Benedict, and he says, his father thought he was too cruel. His father thought he was too hard. And Benedict is still in his, you know, oh, he was wrong about that then, wasn't he? And as the audience, especially if you've seen it more than once, you're thinking, oh, no, he wasn't.
In a weird way, the toxic masculinity, would you describe the boy's masculinity as toxic too?
Well, in the sense that he's nailed his colours to the mast in the first 5 minutes. As the film starts, he says, I wouldn't be considered a man if I didn't look after my mother. And so you get the whole sort of thing of a boy with his mother, you know, like a boy brought up alone with his mother. And the boy, inevitably, and it shouldn't be done, but it often is, the boy has to become the man of the house. And he's determined that he's going to, in that sense.
So it is a fascinating film about masculinity. And there's the piano scene for me was the key scene with Kirsten Dunst. The obvious scene with Benedict was when he goes to he has like a shack by a river where he has essentially all these pornographic magazines of their time. Of their time, yeah. Like, I remember magazines like that when I was younger, just of the male body, right? You know, as a beautiful thing. They were sort of nudist magazines or something. And Kodi's character sort of stumbles across this, and there's huge embarrassment. Yeah. But also there's this character hanging heavily over the plot, Kid Bronco.
Oh,
Bronco. I mean, I did feel the name Bronco was a bit cliche, didn't you? It was like, big bad Bronco.
I had to wipe that out because I think after the first time I was seeing it, I thought if they said Bronco again, I'd die laughing. But I managed to wipe it out as an issue because
and there's the moment where where Cumberbatch is telling the story of when him and bucking Bronco were up in the hills. He had to save, Bronco saved his life, and they had to sort of sleep spooning together under the sheets. And then Kodi asks, "Were you naked?" Yeah, I thought that was quite a curious moment, wasn't it?
Well, he played that very well. There's a beat between Benedict Cumberbatch saying that and the boy saying, looks and says, "Were you naked?" And in that moment, there have been people all over America who have said, was he therefore, can we say that he was abused as a child by Bronco? I mean, I wish people would just leave things alone.
Well, I have to confess, I thought that. I didn't particularly think Bronco was an entirely friendly character. I mean, you know, I mean, I have to confess, I think on a few occasions I thought shots of Benedict stroking the sort of, I don't know what you call that bit of a saddle that goes up where...
Pommel.
The what? The what?
Pommel.
Pommel. I think you said bobble. Yeah, the pommel. Oh, okay, yeah, so stroking the pommel and all that. I mean, at times I was reminded, without getting wanky, of D.H. Lawrence, you know, the kind of metaphors of the body of horses and the strip of leather and the plaiting of the lasso and all that kind of stuff.
A good steer, yes, actually.
Yeah, so in that sense, I found that stuff a little bit obvious, but it kind of worked. But a lot of people, Mum, are saying it's the most boring film they've ever seen. Yeah, what do you say to them?
Johnny Greenwood's music, we haven't even got to that
well,
yet.
He's been
nominated. It keeps you galloping along, whether you want to or not.
He's been nominated for an Oscar.
Oh man, don't you think that soundtrack is good though?
I did actually. I thought the soundtrack and the cinematography and the set design and costume. I thought it was impeccable. You know, we haven't really talked about Jesse Plemons. I thought he was excellent.
Oh my God! And you know they're married, him and Kirsten Dunst.
I was going to say him and Cucumber Patch. I was thinking, God, that went under the radar.
And she tells a very funny story about when they were given when Jane Campion cast them.
Yeah.
Karen Dunst had to do the thing. Jane Campion didn't know Jesse Plemons at all, and Karen Dunst said, "Well, you get two of us who can use the same bed in this instance, so you know because we're both together." Oh. But that scene where he steps forward and then says, "Oh, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry," and he says, "I'm not lonely anymore."
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I think that was beautiful.
I thought there was such an innocence in his love that was almost too painful for Kirsten Dunst's character to just accept. Yeah. And I think that also partly she was driven to her alcoholism by obviously the malevolence of Benedict Cumberbatch, who was suspicious of her, but also by how sort of searingly honest his love of her was. It made her feel guilty. I think she felt guilt because because he was incredibly sweet. Though we've just said he's kind of controlling in his sweetness, he was an incredibly sweet character.
He was, and the way he sort of, I just thought the period detail and everything, the fact that they were quite a well-off family for the time, you could tell by everything. Yeah. Obviously the ranch and everything, but then his fur coat and the car. I mean, they didn't have cars.
No, quite.
Just to say a couple of things about that Jane Campion said about the scene, which I suppose in a way is a crucial scene, the scene where we see Benedict in his little lake with his scarf with Bronco on it, and then the boy finds...
He has sex with Bronco's scarf.
And then the boy finds the magazines. That isn't in the book. She put that in because she wanted to she felt that she had to underline something.
She was worried it would be even more boring.
Or maybe she just thought, it has to be sort of...
Yeah, we need a pinch point in the narrative right now. We've got to do something.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree with that because there was a point there where I thought, oh my God, suddenly you do understand everything, don't you?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, summing up, I would say, for me, this film was very much like Kodi Smit-McPhee's character's Paper Flowers. The longer you spent with it, the longer you unfurled and got to the centre of something. And I thought that kind of analogy of opening the fronds of something and looking into something, if you think about the plaiting of the lassos as well, which was the kind of almost the bringing together of their lives and their maleness, I thought it was an incredibly, I'm thinking of the viewers now who are going to go and watch it and go, fuck me, that was boring. It's a very slow watch. It's a challengingly slow watch. But I was in the midst of terrible, terrible COVID. It was without any sense of obligation or hurry. It was the perfect antidote to sit back and feel totally immersed. So what I'm trying to say is, I think you'll get the most from this film if you're totally incapacitated and unable to get off the sofa.
Also, I mean...
it's beautifully acted. Beautifully acted.
Yeah. There's a scene very near the beginning. In fact, I think it could even be the second or third shot where... And I don't know how the camera works in these things, you do, but there's a shot of the cows coming down. Like a river of brown and white. And I was hooked from that moment on. I thought, this is stunning. Well, it was stunning in a landscape way, in a way that I found... what was the one with Frances McDormand about the Nomadland? Wasn't for me. I mean, I expected that to be, and it wasn't. But this was. Yeah. I mean, the landscape is absolutely stunning.
I think the landscape and the cattle and everything were done so authentically. It was almost documentary. So you were fascinated by the process as well. And I think it was very clever at that. Even down to the sort of leathering of hides and the leathering, how to make a lasso. I mean, I never thought I'd know how to make a lasso. I now know, in a vital situation, I'd know how to make a lasso. So I thought, brilliant performances all round. It's a meditative watch. It's a long watch. Be prepared. If you're not prepared to see something boring, I'd say don't sit down and watch it and then say it's boring, because it's slow. No. It's slow. Just don't watch it. I'd recommend don't watch it if you don't like a slow film. I personally do think it's going to get Best Picture.
Yeah, but you don't sound as if you think it deserves it.
It's slow.
It is slow.
Give us your summary and what you liked about it, and why you've seen it 3 times.
Well, I liked everything about it. I liked it. Let's not mince words. It's today's Brokeback Mountain, isn't it?
Precisely.
And I think Annie Proulx was brought in at some point as a sort of person to ask these questions about gay cowboys, because of course there were loads of gay cowboys that you just never think about.
Well, it's such a masculine business. Of course, it's so homoerotic, isn't it? They're all wearing chaps. They're all wearing leathers. They've got lassos and whips. Guns.
Absolutely, and their name's Bronco, and they've got poles.
Yeah, there's a lot of bucking broncos. I mean, Christ.
I know. No, I just thought, for the moment, as I say, it's about 2 scenes in where the cows came round the corner, and I thought, I'm absolutely sold on this.
Oh, good.
And the only thing that could have thrown it for me was if Benedict didn't live up to his part, and he did.
Yeah.
From the moment that he opens his mouth.
Yeah, you're right.
He's such a sod, I thought, oh my God. And I was sort of a bit worried even for the first few scenes with him. And then I thought, oh, you're doing it, lovely. Keep it going.
Yeah,
You're absolutely horrible.
I think you're right. I mean, it was his conviction won me over.
Yeah, his flinty eyes and George, who's so sweet, his brother, and yet he's still having a go at him all the time.
Yeah.
And,
so what would you score it?
Yes. 92.
Okay, I thought you would have given it the old fat 100. I'd give it 80. Which, because it's a very good film, and it's just a film that demands a viewer to be patient, and I would recommend to people who are coming out sort of saying, oh, it's boring, it's too long, what was that? You just shouldn't have watched it. And so you need to watch a review like this to find out that it's not for you. If you want it to be conventionally telling a story, this is far more about character building. Almost, not a lot happens, but an enormous amount happens if you get to know the characters. And it's about immersion. You're immersed in these characters.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sort of a bit Shakespearean in the way that it takes good and bad, in the way that it makes the boy, sort of step up to the plate, and sort of he and Benedict exchange roles in many respects, you could say.
Yeah. So guys, there you go. That's our review of The Power of the Dog. I think it's going to win the Oscar for Best Picture.
But what did the Power of the Dog mean?
Well, it comes from Psalm 26 or something, doesn't it?
But did you see the dog in the mountain?
Oh no, I didn't see the dog in the mountain. I thought it was I thought it was making up the dog in the mountain. Even Benedict Cumberbatch looked at him like, "There's no fucking dog in the mountain."
It was a wonderful scene.
It was a very good scene. He looked perplexed. He looked utterly perplexed. It was a fabulous moment. Well, there you go. That's our review of The Power of the Dog. I think it's going to win the Best Picture. I personally think Benedict kind of deserves to win. What was the other one? Because he was nominated for that thing about Turing, wasn't he? Where he invented the machine. Anyway, so tell us what you thought. If you've seen it, share your thoughts below. Tell us what you think. Is it too boring, or is it just a really nice long watch?
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.